Hi there, this is Emma at the Vlog Lady, and today I'm going to be doing a video about the role of women in Twin Peaks. I was prompted to do this video because of some comments I read on social media. They were made by young women who can't have been alive the first time Twin Peaks aired, and they were basing their opinion on having recently watched Twin Peaks, and basically they were suggesting that they didn't know how anybody could be a fan of Twin Peaks because of the way that women were portrayed in the series. So when I read that, these comments were interesting to me, and it got me thinking about the series a lot and how women are portrayed throughout Twin Peaks. The more I thought about it, the more I thought there is a lot to say about this. To begin with, and I don't know if this is true, but having joined like the Twin Peaks fan communities online, the fandom seems to be overwhelmingly male. I know that there are a lot of women fans obviously, but the people who seem to be invested in it very strongly seem to be male. And I do think that that's relevant to this discussion. And I also think that to perceive the show from a female perspective is important as well. So I'm going to have a look at some of the characters in Twin Peaks, the female characters, and I'm going to identify why people might think that women are portrayed badly in Twin Peaks. I apologize because I have a cold at the minute, so my voice is a little bit croaky. Okay, because there are so many female characters in Twin Peaks, it's hard to know where to start on this discussion, but I'm just going to try and dive in and see where it goes from. And I'm going to begin with Audrey Horne because I think she's an interesting character. She starts out, when we first meet her, I think that she comes across as being rather naughty, which she is, but not in the way that we think she is. I think that audiences are compelled to think that she might be sexually experienced, and in fact she's not. She's just very playful. She plays on her sexuality, I think. You know, in that first scene we see her when she changes her shoes, this is seemingly to highlight her feminine charms, and it's almost like a statement of empowerment that she chooses to dress like this and chooses to disobey the rules of either her parents or of the school. I like that Audrey is bold enough to be able to converse with characters like Agent Cooper and other adult characters who have a lot of authority, and she's not afraid as well of being in the spotlight in front of masculine figures. So for instance, we see her when she is making mischief and she goes into the conference room and starts to cry. That is a show that she puts on for attention, but she knows how to play it, I think. Subsequently, Audrey goes through a lot of changes. Because she is impelled to work with her father, she seems to undergo a physical change. Her clothing certainly changes. Her makeup is muted. She becomes more masculine, I think, in terms of trying to fit into that masculine business world that she has to survive in now. I think that the fact that she feels like she has to perhaps be less feminine, be less sexual to exist in that kind of corporate world is a little bit sad. I also think that the way that she's treated as she's trying to work her way through the ranks of the hotel business is a little disturbing, because once over her father says to her, there's something like, "You're the man, Audrey," which is completely undermining female identity. It implies that you have to be a man or have male-like thinking and male behaviors to be able to be successful in this world. I don't like using the word misogynist, and a lot of people, if I use that word, tend to disagree, but I don't know what the term is when it's angled from a male perspective. So I'm going to say that it's angled from a male perspective when we see Audrey teamed up with John Justice Wheeler, because he is an elderly, well, he's not elderly, but he's an older male, okay? And so he has a lot of say in that relationship. In terms of being able to provide for that couple, John Justice Wheeler has all the funds, and, you know, he can take care of Audrey, but she could not equally contribute to that relationship, probably, financially, in financial terms. It's also, I think, a masculine dream for an older man to take the virginity of someone like Audrey because she's so beautiful and naive. You know, I don't think we expected to be naive at the beginning of the series, but this is exposed throughout season 1 and season 2. She actually is probably one of the most innocent girls on Twin Peaks, although the situations that she finds herself in would suggest otherwise. And because she's not shy, because she's not demure, she is often associated with, like, you know, a lot of people think of the Audrey character and see her in One-Eyed Jacks, and think of her as a saucy kind of temptress. And in fact, that's not who she was. She was playful, I would say. She was sexually playful when she didn't really know what that meant. Once she gained some experience, her behaviours changed, and as she matured, her behaviours changed. I think Audrey's trajectory would actually be to be a successful female entrepreneur or something like that. When she's running the hotel because of her father's illness, she finds that strength from herself. I think in regards to Audrey, the idea that her legacy, I mean the legacy of being the hotel manager or of being in business with her father was not going to be something that was equal among the genders, because I think that it is implied that everything would have fallen naturally to her brother to look after instead of her if he had not been incapacitated. In general, regarding the John Justice Wheeler situation, it does feel like in particular moments that the series has been written to titillate men rather than women. So scenes like when Gordon Cole, for instance, turns up at the diner and is hitting on Shelley. This is a cute scene, and I think that it does actually help to empower Shelley, because I think that she needs that kind of reinforcement and attention from a very intelligent and powerful man. However, it once again, it is like a power designated by a man to propel a woman towards her own strength. And also, I think that in terms of the generational gap between characters, it's probably inappropriate in that situation, and with the John Justice Wheeler situation as well. And also with Cooper and Annie, there is a possible age gap there, which a lot of people refer to when they are talking about the reasons why Cooper didn't just get together with Audrey. I also feel a little unsettled about Annie's position when she arrives in town, and in that vulnerable state she is expected to be Dale's love interest. I just think that it doesn't sit easy with me, that because Annie doesn't immediately come across as a character who is very strong. I think that develops over a few episodes when she starts to repel the idea that she is a weak and frigid nun who has been left bitter by her experiences with men. She denies this. Regardless of that, I think that her position in society is a weakened one, and for her to embark on a relationship that is so full on with Dale Cooper, again, I feel like that is a statement of male power. I sound like such a feminist. I don't mean to sound like a raging feminist when I'm saying this. It's just some of the thoughts that I have. One other thing that I notice is that the FBI is exclusively male, and I don't know if this was a sign of the times. I'm going to assume that there were female FBI agents back in the day. The truth is, the only female agent we meet, I believe from memory, is Agent Denise Bryson, who is actually a man. And in fact, Denise has to change back into a man at one stage in order to successfully complete a mission and to get the bad guy. I mean, you could say in regards to that, and Audrey exclaiming that, you know, do the female agents, that the gender conventions of that current society are being challenged by the writers. Maybe they are holding that idea up to scrutiny, that, you know, that it is a male-dominated world and it shouldn't be. Rather than it being an an exploitation of how dominant the masculine race is. Also, Denise has some very exaggerated female qualities. You know, she's always putting on lipstick and looking at a reflection. That is not typical of every woman. That is the stereotype of a woman that Denise is adhering to. She says as she as she puts her lipstick on. It's not true that the only characters who are crazy in Twin Peaks, who are, you know, off the map, are female ones, but there are obviously a couple of examples of women in Twin Peaks who are unstable, such as Nadine and the Log Lady. However, if we look at, say, Nadine and the Log Lady, and you analyse why they might be like that, in the Log Lady's case it was because she was supposedly affected by the loss of her husband. So that implies that her identity has been altered because of the loss of a masculine presence. In Nadine's case, how much of her problems come from having a physical disability, as in blindness? There is a lot of new stuff that's come out in the secret history of Twin Peaks that redefine these characters, and which suggests that perhaps there is more to the story than just their identities being shifted and distorted because of their experiences with men. But if we're just to look at the series alone, then that is something that is plausible. Speaking from a female perspective, I do find male villains more threatening than female ones. From my position, from my understanding of the world, I see a masculine presence as being stronger, more prone to violence in most cases. Male villains they seem to have the sexual threat, imposing themselves against the victim's will. In regards to Laura, she is portrayed as a girl who has everybody in town enthralled by her beauty, by her physical beauty, by her blondness. I mean, her blondness is an aspect of why she is so attractive to everybody, and that says a lot about the male. I think it says a lot about not just the male idea of beauty, but probably the female one as well. How we hold up figures like Marilyn Monroe as the ultimate beauty. I think that Laura is one of the stronger characters in Twin Peaks because of how she resists. There is a lot of interesting stuff with the One-Eyed Jack's brothel. The way that women are portrayed there. We have Blackie ruling over that house of whores. And basically we never see the reverse in television, do we? And it cements the idea of women as a plaything of men, as a sexual play toy. I always thought that in regards to like Norma not having any children, that was, you know, that says more about Hank, I think, than it does about Norma. Because I think Norma probably would have wanted children, whereas Hank doesn't seem interested in creating that kind of stability. In terms of Ed and Nadine not having kids, I think that's obvious why they don't have kids. I think that Norma was only supposed to be in her late 30s, so theoretically she still could have had kids after the end of the last season. Although in the secret history of Twin Peaks, there is some comments, I can't remember who makes the comments now, either Major Briggs or Cooper, that Norma never had her own children, and it's said pitifully, as if there was no more chance of that, and as if that was something that meant she was less of a woman almost. That's kind of the sense that I got. Like, she's not as fulfilled and as successful in life as she could have been had she had kids. Looking at characters like Catherine, you know, Catherine, she rules with an iron fist. She wears the trousers in her marriage. She has qualities that aren't necessarily immediately associated with femininity, and that's me assigning attributes to the genders, but I think that that is the whole point when it comes to delineating Catherine's personality. It does come across as being very overbearing, very cruel sometimes. Okay, what about Shelley? Shelley is obviously physically abused by Leo. So we see a woman who is being subjugated and debased and humiliated by a man. Her only saviour is either Bobby, and she looks to Norma for support as well. See, I would have liked to have seen Shelley a little more proactive in helping herself rather than looking to others for support. Too often she relies on a man for assistance. I think it's undeniable that, you know, there are stereotypes of female characters in Twin Peaks. So we often see women portrayed in this way as either hysterical, crazy like Nadine, or we see them as passive, a bit like Shelley could perhaps fit into that category, or they are complete hard bitches like Catherine, or they are vixens or goddesses or examples of extreme beauty in the eyes of men. Or there is like the slut, you know. So we have a lot of depictions of women who are selling themselves for sex in Twin Peaks, or just embarking on very random sexual encounters with different men. I mean, I certainly don't feel offended while watching Twin Peaks as a woman, but I do think I do think it's a little old-fashioned in terms of the ways that some of the women are presented, and I think that a lot of that is because of Lynch and his propensity to stage a 1950s style society in Twin Peaks. You know, that the way that women relate to men is kind of slightly old-fashioned, I think, in a lot of cases in Twin Peaks, and I think that that's from Lynch's own experiences and where he's coming from as a director and as a writer. I can only say that because of having watched other Lynch projects, but I can't say what Mark Frost's influence on that would be, because I don't know his work as well. Okay, so that's it. I think I could talk about this for a long time, but I didn't really plan this video out because my week has been a little bit heavy and I didn't really think about what I was going to do for a video this week. If anybody has any opinions on this, I'd love to hear them in the comments below. You can subscribe to my channel if you like Twin Peaks or David Lynch or Cult TV. You can also follow me on Twitter at The Vlog Lady, and I have a Facebook page. That's it. Goodbye.